So here are a few of my notes for my speech. Okay. So on September 15th, 1963, this was a day that a very important event happened in the state of Alabama that was related to segregation. This event was called the 16th Street Baptist Church bombings, or otherwise known as the Birmingham Church bombings. I researched this information on Britannica.com and www.nps.gov. I actually also knew a little bit of information about this day before I researched it. So on this day, September 15th, 1963, the whole congregation of the church joined before the 11 o'clock service for Sunday school. What was so great about this day is because this day was Youth Day, and there was 5 girls that gathered in the basement of the church. They were all getting ready. They were so excited about joining with the adult congregation this day. At approximately 10:22, unfortunately, there was a bombing on the front steps of the church that was made by dynamite. It exploded the whole church. This left the church with a lot of significant damage and a lot of devastation for Birmingham. It caved in walls, it destroyed a lot of the brick and mortar in the church, and it was just a really sad time for this to happen. It also filled the church with a lot of smoke, of course. Under all the debris, unfortunately, there were 4 out of the 5 girls were found dead, and the 5th girl was legally blind for the rest of her life. So now that I've told you about this heinous crime and detailed version of this day, let me tell you about why this church was even chosen to be attacked in such way. To give a little background information, this church was a big place to gather for civil rights meetings. And they were also downtown Birmingham, so they were very convenient to travel to. And also, let's consider that Birmingham was actually one of the most segregated cities in the whole United States, not just Alabama, the whole United States. So Reverend Shuttleworth invited Birmingham to join this campaign called the Project C. The Project C campaign, it actually was related to nonviolent protests and boycotts. So on May 2nd, 1963, there was children ranged from age 8 to 18. They gathered together and they marched downtown, and they wanted to go speak to the mayor about all this terrible segregation going on. With this, there was a lot of children jailed. There was a lot of children injured, and so this march was, it ended on May 10th. So it lasted a total of 8 days. So now that I've explained to you why this church was such a big hit for having such attack, let me tell you how they actually recovered. How did Birmingham recover from all this devastation? So immediately after this event occurred, the FBI, they opened an immediate investigation. There were 4 subjects that were found as suspects of this crime, and all of them were members of the Ku Klux Klan, which are also known as the KKK. These people were named Thomas Blanton, Robert Chambliss, Bobby Frank Cherry, and Herman Cash. The investigation ended with no indictments eventually because there was a lack of evidence. There was no bystanders that were really saying much, and there was just no physical evidence for them to charge any of these 4 men with this. But in 1971, the Alabama Attorney General, Bill Baxley, reopened the case. So Robert Chambliss was then charged with murder in 1977. It took a few years, but hey. Later on in the early 2000s, Thomas Blanton and Bobby Frank Cherry were also sentenced to life in prison, being charged with murder. The 4th man, he actually died in the 90s, and so he was not able to clearly be charged with anything. So now that I've told you about this horrific event in history and why this church was chosen to be attacked and what the aftermath looked like for the city of Birmingham, I hope that you take something from this, and I hope you learn a little bit about segregation during this time in Alabama. Thank you.